Hi, I'm Tyler, and the Shakespeare play that I chose was Macbeth. And the twist that I added in my own creative way was, instead of it being in a medieval Scotland setting or era, essentially, I put it into modern day. So, in a world where global politics is at an all-time high, tech billionaires are rising and growing, as well as the economic state and policies in this world, as well as the rules and regulations. So in this version, Macbeth isn't a feudal lord. He's actually a celebrated special forces commander. He actually is returning from a secret mission on the front lines. Duncan isn't a king, but he's actually a founder and CEO of a high-tech, multi-billion-dollar mega corporation company. This company's bigger than Apple, Amazon, SpaceX. They all look tiny compared to this company. This company's probably like the biggest in the world. And the crown that he wears isn't made of gold, but the CEO position of his empire is that crown, essentially. It's like a title. This job's worth hundreds of $billions and wields more power than most countries. And the main symbol for this whole idea is the glass and steel skyscraper. The entire story plays out inside a luxurious, spotless, totally isolated world of corporate power. And essentially just think of penthouses with outstanding views. Like the 1% above that have that. That's the setting. So this would be an example of like the penthouse that Macbeth would be residing in, where cold decisions are made, high impacting decisions, private jets, top secret data centers. This is a world where quiet order is given in a meeting that can destroy lives, where blood is cleaned essentially up by a private security team before anyone notices. Basically, it's your own militia, your own army, where nobody notices, and you can basically dominate the world. This is the setting that we're in. And I believe that this concept lets us dive into huge themes such as, what does unchecked ambition look like in the age of billionaires and late stage capitalism? Something that's very trendy in the modern world right now, as well as what's the moral emptiness at the center of extreme wealth, and what does it do to your brain? What do you have to maintain a perfect public image? What do you have to do while you're completely falling apart inside due to all this power and wealth, and basically anything is disposable at your hands? And the message I want the audience to leave with is that the power in the 21st century is more addictive, lonelier, and destructive than it's ever been. And essentially, I want the story of Macbeth, as he progresses down a darker path, to portray how a lot of corporations are acting, as well as give perspective on a lot of high classed individuals and what they could possibly be actually doing. So where we'd be performing this play would be in a black box theater, which means we have total flexibility to transform the space into whatever we want, into the skyscraper, into a penthouse, into the front lines, with the background with like a projector or something, just to give people more feel and atmosphere. So there's not so much going on, so you can basically isolate what you want to focus on during the scene. And I want the audience on risers on both sides with like a thrusting stage, so the actors are right in the middle of it, and while the actors are in the middle of it, there's the audience facing them from each side, essentially. This creates, I think, and like we talked in class, an intense atmosphere where the people really feel drawn in, and feel like they're in the play itself, and they can really feel that emotion and action. Um, and I think the beauty of the black box is we can do quick cinematic scenes with the projector or lighting or on the floor. So this would be an example of like the black box theater with people on the side, except I would have people elevated on the right and left side, as well as the front, as well as this is basically the premise of like the digital wall that I was talking about, and then projectors projecting onto that. That's kind of what I want to have in the background, so it can display a lot of lights and emotion essentially throughout the different scenes. And I really do think that this kind of mirrors our modern day with all these fast cuts, technology, flashing lights, fragmented image, and like this constant stimulation on the brain. So basically, the audience can't look away. They don't feel bored, or they don't feel underwhelmed with what's happening. I want them to feel the action as it's happening. So basically, they're trapped in this like arena essentially, with the characters watching their ambition, the paranoia spiral, until it becomes insane. So the set design is going to change throughout the story, through the different acts. So with the projection wall, it'll be a different projection being portrayed in the background, and with the lighting, as well as the different effects that we'll have. So, for example, Act 1, Scene 1, we're in the battlefield. It's not two swords clashing together. It's not knights in armor. They're in the medieval time. It's modern day, so we have Banquo and Macbeth. They're in tactical gear, armed with guns. Drone footage will be in the background on the wall, or sound of the drones flying around. There'll be night vision, lights flashing around, as well as satellite coordinates being pinged on the wall as well. In Act 1, Scene 5, and in a lot of different scenes in the play, instead of Macbeth being in a mansion, he's actually in a penthouse where the highest of the high reside, because he's a very distinguished and well-known soldier. So that's followed with a nice beautiful skyline, nice leather chairs, high-tech software, and whatnot. In Act 3, Scene 4, when they're at the banquet, the background, the wall will display constantly updating social media feeds, congratulating their new up-and-coming CEO, and the stock price is soaring. And during that scene, as the scene goes on, chaos will occur. The feed glitches, showing old photos of Banquo, then error messages, and then singular question, kind of repeating like, "What's up? What's going on with Banquo?" In Act 5, periodically, but in Act 5, towards the end, the wall becomes fractured, glitches, static error codes are happening, kind of showing periodically throughout the play that the wall is crumbling, essentially. This is just an example of like the static that the wall will have in the end, but the Act 5, like Macbeth in the beginning, all this innocent, high, almighty guy, and in the end, what is he? He's the worst, the low of the low now. So I kind of wanted the wall to kind of start and finish like that, and follow Macbeth's journey and the evil path that he's taken. The lighting will be harsh, cool, fluorescent in corporate spaces, kind of mimicking like airports In private moments, the lighting will be warmer, but with deep shadows lurking at the edges. The Macbeths are often lit by the glow of screens, laptop phones, devices, and the video wall, which isolates them and casts them into unnatural lighting and places on their face. For the costumes, Macbeth would be wearing high end tactical gear when he's on the field, when he's working, and on the front lines. When he's not, he'll be in a perfectly tailored suit. But as his grip on sanity loosens throughout the play and the different scenes, his suit becomes disheveled, the tie becomes loosened, the buttons pop open, the shirt gets wrinkled, the sleeves become undone progressively throughout the play. This is Macbeth's suit before in the beginning, and this is his suit towards the end of the play. Lady Macbeth, she's giving boss vibes, so she's going to be wearing high-end dresses, a lot of mascara, high-end blazers, basically a razor-sharp persona that a boss would give off. In her sleepwalking scene, she wears expensive nightwear and silk gowns. Duncan, he's basically like an older Steve Jobs in this scenario, as he's a CEO. So he'll be wearing like a black turtleneck, jeans, comfy sneakers. Banquo, he'd be the loyal principal second in command, so he'll also be wearing tactical gear when he's on the front lines. But when he's not, he'd be wearing blazers, open collared shirts. As for the sound and music, I kind of went with more from a very popular modern day artist. So a minimalist electronic score, like Hans Zimmer, popular in Interstellar, Oppenheimer. So he'll be providing deep, unsettling drone-distorted bass, the hum of servers, the click of keyboards, as well as like provide an eerie atmosphere with his music. So sounds of distant explosions as well would be behind his music. Before we get into the actors that will be playing these characters, I just wanted to give a quick notice. I'm a big Marvel fan, and I kind of wanted to do a recurring theme of Marvel actors who I believe that would fit these roles perfectly. So for Macbeth, I chose Oscar Isaac. He plays Moon Knight in Marvel, but he has such an impressive range, so I think that he possesses the perfect combination of intelligence as well as emotion and physical intensity. He can play a man capable of immense violence who is also capable of profound self-reflection, despair, kind of what we saw in Moon Knight. His Macbeth will be a brilliant soldier who discovers he is even better at corporate assassination than military combat, and it destroys him. His tomorrow speech will be the exhausted realization of a man who has achieved everything, however found it empty. For Lady Macbeth, I chose Florence Pugh because she brings a fierce intelligence and emotional rawness. Like when she was playing Yelena in Black Widow. I feel like her Lady Macbeth would be younger, hungrier, and more visibly ambitious than we've normally seen, like as an older Lady Macbeth in the films. I feel like she would not hide her ruthlessness behind a cool composure, but like wield it openly, making her eventual collapse even more tragic. For Duncan, I chose Jeff Bridges because he brings a rumpled, approachable warmth. His Duncan would be the cool uncle who built a tech empire, making his trusting nature feel authentic and his murder feel like a betrayal of family. For Macduff, I chose Winston Duke because of his immense physical presence, when he was in Black Panther, which would make his Macduff a genuine threat. His grief would be a force of nature, and his final confrontation with Macbeth would feel like an avalanche meeting a mountain. For Banquo, I chose Andrew Garfield because he brings vulnerability and emotional transparency. He's also been in, I think, a couple plays, so his vocal range, I think, would be S tier. So his Banquo would be genuine friend to Macbeth, making the betrayal deeply personal, and the ghostly appearances heartbreaking to Macbeth. The time period would be present day, setting Macbeth in the contemporary world of tech billionaires, private military contractors, and algorithmic manipulation that makes the play's themes urgently relevant, like in modern day society. So we live in an age where a handful of unelected individuals wield more power than most nations, where decisions made in Silicon Valley boardrooms affect millions of lives, and where the pursuit of disruption often makes a ruthless ambition that destroys everything in its path. And I feel like that fits perfectly with Macbeth, as a person as well as the play. So in this setting, the Macbeths are not ancient tyrants. They are people we read about in business headlines and the faces of magazine covers. For my quotes, the first one I chose was in Act 1, Scene 2. The quote being, "What he hath lost, noble Macbeth had won." The context being that Duncan receives the news of the battle's outcome and Macbeth's valor is praised. I would choose the staging as it being in Duncan's office. Which is high in the company's headquarters, having floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the glittering city, and Duncan would basically hear the news of Macbeth's victory, basically saying that Macbeth would be getting a promotion as, in this case, Director of Special Operations. And he's praising Macbeth in his tactical gear, smeared with camo paint. Macbeth is exhausted. You can see it in his eyes. And as Macbeth is being praised by Duncan, the screen freezes on Macbeth's exhausted face. The audio cuts out Duncan's praise as well as others, and we see him alone in a foreign war zone, having just received the promotion that would destroy him. So basically, like foreshadowing. For my second quote, I chose Act 2, Scene 2. "Methought I heard a voice cry, 'Sleep no more, Macbeth does murder sleep.'" The context for this being Macbeth returns from killing Duncan, his hands covered in blood, already unraveling. The staging for this would be in the penthouse that Macbeth owns. He stands in a doorway to the master bedroom, his tactical clothes splattered with blood, his hands wet, red with Duncan's blood. He stares at them as if they belong to someone else. And we'll have Lady Macbeth emerge from the bathroom holding a towel. She sees his face, freezes. She has never seen him like this. Then she disappears into the bathroom. Macbeth stares alone, staring at his hands. They are clean now, but he keeps staring, keeps seeing the red on his hands. The camera light from the hallway blinks through the window. He looks at it, it blinks, "Sleep no more." For my third quote, it's in Act 5, Scene 1. "Out, damn spot, out, I say." The context for this would be Lady Macbeth's sleepwalking scene. The staging would be in the penthouse late at night, early in the morning, so like maybe 2, 3 a.m. Cold blue light from the city below. Lady Macbeth wanders barefoot in her silk robe across the marble floor. She's not asleep, but in a dissociative state. She moves to the bathroom, turns on the faucet, and begins scrubbing her hands under the water. She looks at her reflection in the dark glass of the window, and she doesn't see herself, but the faces of the dead, so Duncan, Banquo, Lady Macduff, the children. flashing like rapid images. She speaks lines not as a madwoman, but as a woman whose mind is finally cracked under all the pressure and stress that she's gone. She scrubbed her hands until they can't be clean no more. But the water runs clear. The spot is not on her hands; it's in her brain. So the final image being that she sinks to the floor, hugging her knees, basically starting to go insane, rocking as the first light of dawn arises. And for my final quote, I chose Act 5, Scene 5. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. The context for this being Macbeth learns of his wife's death and delivers his tomorrow speech. So the staging for this would be Macbeth sits alone, ruined in his penthouse. The video wall finally is cracked and dead, shattered, showing only static. His expensive suit torn, stained, days old. He holds his phone, staring at a text message from Lady Macbeth's doctor, saying, "Time of death." He has no emotion. He speaks the lines quietly, conversationally, to the empty room, to the static screen, to the audience. He's not raging, but he's stating the fact that he finally understood. His entire life, all the blood, all the ambition, all the sound and fury of the boardrooms, the battles, has signified nothing, essentially. He is the idiot and the tale is over. And as he speaks, the lights slowly fade until only his face is visible, lit by the faint glow of his phone screen, then that light too. So why I chose this play and why the modern day rendition, I believe it offers audiences a Macbeth that feels ripped from tomorrow's headlines, something that can happen anytime now. By transplanting the play into a world of tech billionaires, private military contractors, and algorithmic manipulation, we reveal that Shakespeare's tragedy is not a relic of, but a prophecy, essentially saying we live in a world where the Macbeths built a world where power is concentrated in the hands of few, where morality is optional, and where the ghosts of our choices haunt us, not from graves, but from screens that surround us and all the memories that we have. I believe that this production will also attract audiences who love like prestige television, people who are fascinated by psychology of the ultra wealthy, as well as those who crave theater that speaks directly into their world. A lot of these Shakespeare plays are set back centuries ago, and I feel like providing a modern day perspective of Macbeth in times where wars happening constantly, I feel like that provides a perspective of relatability to what the audience is experiencing, to what a lot of high-end people in the modern day society are going through. And I feel like it shows that people are haunted by their own actions no matter what time. So that was my rendition of Macbeth and showing the modern day ideas that I had for a modern day play of Macbeth. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and take care.